Hello, I'm Rose, and this is Flosstube number 1 for Untwist Your Stitches. This channel will be about my counted cross stitch. It will be about a little bit of sewing, maybe some crocheting, and all the other crafts that I do and sell on my Etsy account, which is also Untwist Your Stitches. I will have a link in the comments for my store, and if you're interested in going there and seeing what I have for sale, I would appreciate you stopping by. I'm new to Flosstube. I learned about it, I would say about 4 years ago. A friend of mine asked me if I watched any of the channels, and at the time I couldn't understand it. I didn't know why you would want to watch other people with their stitching. I was probably a little stubborn about it and said, nah, it's really not for me. Well, here a few months back, I was looking for a tutorial and I came across a floss tube by Carrie from Tiger Lily Designs, and she is very energetic. She is very entertaining. She just was a lovely lady, and I watched a couple of her floss tubes and was very intrigued. She also mentioned her friend Sarah from Handmade with Sarah W., and I watched several of her floss tubes and I became hooked. So then I decided, well, I will take a look at what else is out there. So I typed in new floss tubes. And of course, you can imagine there were a lot of things that came up. And I went and saw one that was, I don't remember what the title of it was, but it just sounded silly. So I watched it and I was hooked. It was Running with Scissors, Jane and Julie, and those ladies are amazing. Their stitching is amazing. Their finishing is just, it's very creative. Their banter back and forth just draws you in and makes you feel like you're sitting right there with them and enjoying an afternoon of talking about stitching. And the message that Jane has at the end of her videos just is so profound. I love listening to it. I think about it daily, and I am just so glad that she came up with that message to share with all of us. And so I binge watched those ladies. I've watched every one of their episodes from number 1 all the way to, I believe they're on number 30 right now. And if you haven't watched them, you should take a look, because they just are just fun girls to listen to. I also have several others that I have watched and enjoy, and as my video goes along, hopefully I can mention a few more that I have watched and can suggest for you. So let's start with, how did I become a cross stitcher? It was not something that I planned. It was something that I fell into because of a need that I had at the time. In 1985 or 6, I can't remember the exact date, my mother decided that it would be a wonderful idea to make a quilt for her parents' 60th wedding anniversary. She talked to the family members, her sisters, her brother, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles, everybody. And she said the idea is to take a 12 by 12 block. There were going to be, I believe, 20 of them. And put some message on it to as celebration for the anniversary that was coming up for them. And a lot of the family members said, "Oh, that sounds great." So now this was a year before the actual party was going to take place, because she knew it wasn't going to be something that could be done quickly. So she sent out the pieces of fabric, and I would say maybe 5 months before she needed them back to put them into a quilt for this party, she discovered that she was 5 or 6 short. So she called the people that she knew had taken them and had not sent her anything, and she asked, "Are you close to a finish? Are you going to be able to finish? What is the status on these squares?" Well, the majority of the answers were, "Well, I just don't know what to do. I'm stuck with an idea, and I just don't think I can do this." So she called my middle sister and I, and she said, "I'm sending you each a square, and you've got 3 months to send it back to me with something on it for Grandma and Grandpa." Okay. We just, okay. So we went to the store. I don't know how many of you will remember Ben Franklin's, but it was a crafting store, very similar to Hobby Lobby. It had a lot of different crafts in it at the time. It was the go-to, at least out here in the West. We were in Wyoming and Montana at the time. So we go to this store, and we're walking around trying to figure out, what we were going to do. Now, we both had embroidered in the past. I had done chicken scratch, which is done on gingham fabric, if you're not familiar with it, in geometric designs. I guess there are some other designs too, but I always did geometric ones because they were easy to figure out when you'd made a mistake. We thought maybe we could find the iron-on designs, like what they would put on pillowcases or dish towels at the time, but most of those were very cartoonish, or they were flowers, and they just didn't really say anniversary. So we were being goofy, as we tend to be when we get together, and we're walking around the store kind of in circles, and there was the pattern table and a lady sitting there, and we knew she was listening to us because every so often when we said something, she'd giggle. Well, finally she said, "What are you girls trying to do?" And we explained to her what our mission was, and she said, "Wow, that sounds like a really great idea. So what are you going to do?" Well, we couldn't figure it out. And she said, "Well, how about cross stitch?" And both of us were kind of like, "I don't know much about cross stitch." So she said, "Well, come on, girls, let's go over to the embroidery aisle. That's where we're going to find what we're looking for." And we went over there, and at that time, there were books and pamphlets and patterns and kits, a full aisle of them. There was a lot of them in the stores. And they might all be by similar designers, but at least there was a large variety. And we found this book. I still have it. It is book number 35 from Stony Creek. And this right here, let me see if I can get it to focus. This one right here is the design that I chose to make. And my sister chose this one with the doves and the heart and this information. Now, this is supposed to be a wedding book, but we were able to very easily change the wording and make it into a anniversary gift. And she suggested that I, or my, well, both of us, obviously, use. Sorry, I thought somebody was at my front door, but it was just a noise outside. So anyway, she took us down to another section and showed us waste canvas so that we could stitch our pattern on the fabric that my mom sent me, or sent us, rather than trying to find Ada that would work with what she was trying to do. And, you know, all the instructions are on those packages. You baste the waste canvas onto the material. You do your stitching at the end. You get it wet and you pull out one thread at a time so that the stitching stays on the fabric. Well, having never stitched with waste canvas and never really been a cross stitcher either, some of my threads, some of my floss threads went through the edge of the waste canvas threads. So when it came time to pull them out, it was a little bit hard. Also, I read the directions and it said dampen the waste canvas and pull it out one thread at a time. Well, in my mind, dampen meant dunk it completely in water. Just drowned it. And I did. Well, now that I have worked with waste canvas over the years, I know that all you need to do is give it a spray with a spray bottle, let it set for a little bit to get the glue to release, and then you pull it out. Well, it was not a pretty sight, but I did get it all out, and I did get it sent to my mom. Now, it was right at the 3-month deadline that she had asked me to get it back to her, but I did it. I persevered and I made it work. So that became my first cross stitch project on waste canvas, not knowing anything about what I was doing. And after that, I went and bought several kits and made those over the years. I have some of my old cross stitch. Right now it's in storage because we're kind of at an in-between stage in our lives. We've just sold our business and we're getting ready to pack everything and move to a different state. So a lot of things are in boxes. A lot of things are in storage, and I can't show you some of my older pieces, but once we get settled in our new place and get things unpacked, if my Flosstube takes off and I feel like I'm doing well with it, then you'll see some of my older projects eventually. So that is how I got into cross stitch and why I find this it's a very relaxing thing for me. I stitch almost every single night. Of course, you can't say you stitch every night because life gets in the way and you just can't do that. But most weeks, I would say a minimum of 5 days I'm stitching on something. So Flosstube influenced me. I said that I watched several of these ladies, and I don't know why August for me was such a buying frenzy. I blame it on watching all these ladies and seeing their projects and thinking, oh, I have to have that. Oh, I've got to have that. That's amazing. So I blame Flosstube for the purchases I've made in August and the first part of September. The first thing I'm going to show you is influenced by Jane and Julie. It is one of Julie's designs. It is called June, and it was purchased as a kit. It has the fibers that you need. It has the needles that you will need, and it also comes with this beautiful lace-edged runner that you do the stitching on. So everything is here in the kit, ready to go. Just start stitching. Hardanger is something I have never done before. I have seen it. I find it beautiful and very elegant, but personally, I have never done it. But after watching Jane and Julie's episodes, I convinced myself that it was something that I could do. And I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and make a stab at trying something new. Now, knowing that Hardanger you have to cut, I also bought myself 2 new scissors, a straight point and a curved point. They're supposed to be very sharp, and I got these on Amazon. That's the name of the company. I did not buy it from them direct. I bought it from Amazon. So you can find it there if you want a pair of scissors. That they say that they're very sharp and very good for this type of cutting. If I get brave enough to do the cutting, I'm not sure I can get that brave. That is what has held me back from even trying Hardanger in the past, is the fact that you have to take a scissors and cut the threads, and that terrifies me. But Julie, in her videos, has convinced me that it is something that can be done, and lots of people do it, and even if you do it wrong, you can fix it. So I'm going to give it a try. Another one that I bought is this. It's another of Julie's designs. It was something that I saw in the background on several of their videos, and Jane had stitched it, and it's gorgeous. I love the pattern. I like Americana items to stitch. They're fun for me, and so that is why I chose that pattern. Plus, it looks great. I am an Ada stitcher the majority of the time. I do stitch on some even weave and some linen, but the majority of my stitching is on Ada, and I just feel that it is just as beautiful as even weave and linen, and it's my comfort. So as long as I'm the one doing the stitching, that's what I'm going to do. So that pattern, the USA pattern, is going to be done on this 16 count. It's called Sky Blue. I believe this is a Charles Craft Ada. It's from my stash. I've had it for a lot of years. And I'm not using the fibers that were suggested. I am using what I came up with, and I am using, excuse me, I'm trying to get this so it'll show on the fabric. There we go. This is 115 DMC, 7037 Freedom, a Gentle Arts, and Oatmeal 1140. And I just really like the way these colors work on this fabric. So that's what I'm going to choose to stitch that in. I've got it all kitted up, but I have absolutely no idea when I'm going to be able to get this started. But it's kitted, fully kitted, other than a project bag and threads or needles and that kind of stuff, but it's kitted. The next one was also influenced by Jane and Julie. Jane was stitching this one and has finished it, and it's wonderful. It's a great pattern, and I have a fascination with white pumpkins. I think they're very cool to stitch. I think they're very elegant. And this pattern by Cottage Garden, October 31, is what I want to do. I am going to be stitching on 28 count linen. I don't know the manufacturer. This was gifted to me from another stitcher. She does not like linen. She had bought several pieces of it, and then when she went to stitch on it, she just discovered that she really didn't like linen. So she asked me if I would be interested in it, and I said, sure, I'll do it. I don't mind stitching with linen fabric. So I got several pieces of this color, and it is 28 count, so it should be a pretty good size. And I am going to, for the raven and the pumpkin, I'm going to use the specialty Black Crow 1040 tin bucket 7024, and let's see, this week's dye works is parchment 1110. And the rest of the fibers I'm probably just going to use DMC, but for at least the crow and the main part of the pumpkin, I'm going to use these specialty fibers, because I think they'll give it a really nice finish. The next one that I purchased was because of Carrie from Tiger Lily Designs. She had pulled out hers because she wanted to finish some of her whips, and the whip that she pulled out, let's see, is this penny pumpkin. And again, it is a white pumpkin by the Scarlet House, and I am going to be doing it on 18 count. This is called Dull Mustard. It's kind of it's a dull mustard. It's not showing up very well with my lighting. My lighting isn't very good. It keeps going in and out. We've got overcast skies, and as the clouds move across, I get different lighting in here today. But I'm home alone, and I don't very often get to be home alone. So I decided to give it a try and get this filmed and try to get it posted up. Oh, the fibers I'm going to use for the pumpkin is Weeks Dye Works number 1101 light khaki and 1299 porpoise. And I think that'll really make the pumpkin pop up on this color of fabric. I had thought that I was going to use dolphin But when it came, it's got more of a blue tint to it. And I didn't think it really went that well with my light khaki. So I'm going to find something different to use this for. I'm sure in somewhere in my stitching I'll be able to find something to use this fiber with. When I went and found the penny pumpkin, I was on 1-2-3 stitch, and you all know how it works. You put in a pattern and it comes up with other options that are similar to what you have asked for. And this came up. It's an Alessandra Adelaide Zucca. Now, I had thought about maybe making this a white pumpkin. However, I'm rethinking that because I want to stitch it on, this is 16 count Moon Glow. And it's a really soft, buttery yellow. And I'm not sure that the whites and the grays would show the way I want it to on this. So it might stay an orange pumpkin. If I do decide to stitch it in white, I'm probably going to have to find a different fabric to do it on because it's just not going to show up well enough on that for my own personal liking. Another one that popped up with this Pumpkins Please, and there's my little white pumpkin right there. And this cute little crow. So I had to have that one because it had the white pumpkin. And I'm doing it on 16 count sand. The Moon Glow is a Picture This Plus fabric. This one is just, I believe it's just a Charles Craft. I don't know the fabric designer or manufacturers because all of this fabric has been in my stash for so many years that I didn't keep track of it. So now that I know that I'm presenting this to you, I will try better to keep track of my fabric so that I can give you that information. But just know that to begin with, I'm not going to have an idea of some of this because I didn't keep track of it and it's been in my stash for a while. The next thing that I have seen on many of the different floss tubes, everybody talks about it. It seems to be a big thing right now, and it's the Quaker samplers. I had to Google it to find out what a Quaker sampler was. I thought maybe it was the manufacturer or the original designer or whatever, and it kind of is, but it's kind of not. Basically, a Quaker sampler is just the style that the designs are in. Excuse me, I need a drink. I had no idea I would get so dry talking to myself. Anyway, I found this on Amazon, and I love the fall colors of it. I love the browns and the oranges and the greens. Green is my favorite color. And this one just is really beautiful. And what I've decided to stitch it on, this is a Mystic fabric. It's called Mother Nature, and it's a 32 count. And it's got all of this modeling on it. And with the browns and the terracottas, and there's some reds in there, I think it is going to be just gorgeous on this fabric. I'm going to stitch it in the DMC. I use DMC mainly because I have so much of it. A few years back, there was a local store. It was a fabric store. She was closing her brick and mortar. She was retiring. And she had 12 of the wooden boxes of the original, DMC floss boxes. And she had posted on Facebook uh, that she would like to sell it and get rid of it. So I didn't see that post, but someone else that was in one of my groups saw the post, and she put it out there and said, hey, if anybody is there, go take a look. She's selling it for a very low cost. You can get a really great deal. So I did. I went in and looked. There were 12 boxes, pretty much full of all the DMC floss. So I bought it all for $300 and took it home. And then I thought, oh my gosh, did I just spend a lot of money for not what I thought I was getting? So I went on eBay and I checked it out. And as it turns out, just the boxes, at that time, those original wooden boxes from DMC with the drawers and the dividers and everything, each box was $75. So to get 12 of them, I more than made up for the price that I paid. And then I went through and I counted all the floss, and there was almost 6,000 skeins of floss. So I did good. I got a lot of floss. So now I use I've always used DMC for most of my stitching because, as the lady in my original story told me, it's good quality. They know what they're doing. Their floss is very seldom run, and you can pretty much get them anywhere in the country. So most of my stitching is done with DMC. There's another Quaker. I've seen this on numerous floss tubes. I don't know if it's a new release. No, it's from 2020, so it's not a new release, but a lot of people are doing it. And it's All Hallows Eve by Liz Matthews. And I bought a bunch of different overdyed colors to decide if I'm going to use them. I've bought, this is terracotta. This one is squash. This is pumpkin. I've had this in my stash for a while. It's Trick or Treat. This is Harvest. This one is Hot Rod. And I'm not sure what this one is. Jade. So, whoops, excuse me. I'm thinking of doing a combination of all of these colors and just making it more bright than what it is showing in the picture. But I like the brighter fall colors, so I'm thinking of doing that. And then, of course, I'm going to have to get a white to go and make one of my pumpkins white. Maybe the middle one. We'll see. Another one that is on a lot of different floss tubes is this. Another Liz Matthews. This is also from 2020. And I like this version of it. Right now, I'm not sure. I have some fabric on order from Stitch Me, and I'm waiting for it to come in. So when it gets in, I'm going to decide if I want to use one of the colors that I just bought or if I'm going to use something that's already in my stash. But it's going to have a darker background with the white and silver snowflakes. So those are my Quaker designs, and they look like they could be really fun. This one is not a new purchase, but because I was pulling the fabric for some of my other new purchases, and I had that out, I decided I was going to go ahead and pull this one. I've also seen it on several different floss tubes and Cardinal Kin by Plum Street Samplers, and I love little cardinals. I've got lots of statues and plates and pictures that I decorate with. So cardinals are kind of my thing. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out what fabric I wanted to put it on because nothing really was speaking to me. But then one day I was on Etsy and I found this fabric. And it's a 32 count Belfast by Zweigert. And I think it will look really good with those cardinals on it. And again, I'm going to probably use DMC floss for my stitching because I like DMC. This one is also not a new purchase, but again, because I had my box of fabric out, I decided to pull the fabric for this one. A couple, let's see, what year does it say this was? 2022, so just last year. And there was a whole series of these little animals. Cottage Garden, the little brown bat. There was also the fox, the rabbit, the bear, a beaver, an eagle. I believe there were 12 of them. I think one was released each month last year. But because I just love the fall colors, this is the one. I'm not a big bat person, but him in his coloring with the fall in the background, it really spoke to me. So I bought this little guy, and he is going to be stitched on, it's called Gosling. It's another Mystic Fabrics, and this is 18 count. And he's going to be on this. So those all have their fabrics. Some of them have most of their floss. Not all of them have floss, but at least all of them have their fabrics. And I have no idea which one I'm going to do next or how many I'm going to start. I usually only keep about 10 or 12 whips going at one time, because if I do more than that, it just overwhelms me and I don't know what to stitch on, and I feel like I'm neglecting my projects. Now, that's just my personal opinion. I love watching all of the Flosstube whip parades. I binge watched a whole bunch of the middle of the year ones where they showed what they have gotten to and what they still want to work on, and I love watching those whip parades. But for me personally, I can't have that many going. I'm impressed with the ladies that can have all of them, but for my personal sanity, which I have just a small grip on sanity sometimes, I need to keep my whips to 10 or 12. So we'll see how many of these get started this year. I would say the majority of them are going to have to wait until next year. Another influence from Jane and Julie. Julie is doing this one. I believe all she has left of hers is to do the wording. And it is Come Said the Wind. And it's a Glendon Place design. And if you have seen Julie's stitching of this, it is gorgeous. And because of this pattern is why I made the purchase of fabric from Be Stitch Me. I was looking for not this exact fabric, but something similar to it, but with a little bit more shine. And I went on that site because I believe Jane buys from them. But I went on that site and I went wild. I bought, I believe, 6 yards of fabric from them. And I'm currently in the process of waiting for them to get it dyed for me and shipped out. But I'm really excited to get that fabric and see which one I'm going to use for this design and maybe 1 or 2 of my other designs that I have bought. But I need to be patient and not stalk the postman every day. I can see him from my front window, so as soon as he drives up, I go out there and it's like, nope, not here yet. And I know they're going to send me an email and tell me that it's coming and give me tracking and everything, but you know, you just go out there and look and see if you get a package. The other thing I bought recently is some Mill Hill kits. Again, 1, 2, 3 stitch. You get on there and you start looking at stuff. It can be an evil place because it sucks you in. There's this one. I'm contemplating changing this to a white pumpkin. We'll see how it looks on the perforated paper. If it doesn't look good on the perforated paper, maybe I'll change and pull out some of my orange fabric and stitch it on orange fabric. But this little guy, and then I think these little gnomes are just so cute. And I've bought several of them. They're just so cute. Can't resist. I also decided I needed some more needle minders, and I was on 1, 2, 3, and none of them really appealed to me, so I took a chance and went over to Amazon, and I typed in needle minders, and nothing really came up. But I don't know what I put in the search bar. Maybe gnomes. And these little guys, and what they are is their wine glass charms, I think is what they call them. However, they're just like a needle minder. They've got the magnet on the back and the other one, and you put one, you put it on your glass, one on each side, and decorate your wine glasses. Well, you can also use them as needle minders. They've got these really great magnets, so I now have, whoops, drop that. I now have 3, the little green one that I dropped, and this yellow one and this purple one, so I've got 3 new needle minders. Because I typed in gnomes and cross stitch, this came up. And I love these littles because they're so fun and quick to, um, and this little guy here, I just find him so cute. So he's probably going to be the first one that I make from this book. But this was an Amazon purchase. And the reason I was on Amazon is because, oh, I'm not going to remember. I'm going to have to put it in the comments when I post this, if I can remember. It was one of the floss tubes that I watch, and it's country craft stitchery, something like that. Anyway, she was showing, she had just made this needle and scissor book. And she was showing her work on that. And she mentioned that it came from this finishing book. Well, I thought it was just for finishes. I didn't realize that you also get the stitching projects in the book. And it's a pretty thick book. And there's lots of different designs and lots of different finishing techniques that it shows you. So it's a great book. I'm excited to try to do some of these projects. I'm not sure how many of the patterns are really my style, but they're there if I want them. And like I said, this cute little needle book and scissor keeper is what she was showing on her floss tube. But I will make sure I find her information and put it in the comments. So those finally are all my finishes, or all my purchases. No, they're not. They're not all of my purchases. I also went to Hobby Lobby and went to the clearance section, because when it comes to finishing, I'm very inspired by what Julie does with her boxes and some of the other things that she finds. So in the clearance section of Hobby Lobby, I found these two little stands. And I don't know if they'll stay black or if I'll paint them, or maybe I'll just distress them. But I'm going to do something with these and then use them as a finishing for some of my smalls. They were $1.59 each in clearance. There was also this in clearance, and I have no idea. I have no idea what it is that I think I'm going to use this for, but it was in clearance for $2. And I figured, grab it. You never know what you might need for a finishing. I also, because I needed to go to the dollar store to get some printer paper the other day, they had their fall decorations up. And they had these cute little plaques. And I thought, oh, those will be perfect for some of my stitching finishes. So there's this one that's an oval. Got one of those. And there's also a rectangle. And they should make really cute finishing plaques for something. I mean, you never know what you need for a finishing, so you got to get it while the getting's good, right? And it was at the dollar store, so they were $1. All right, so I think that's all of my purchases. I hope that's all of my purchases, because I went a little wackadoodle on buying things in August and the beginning of September. So now let's get into my actual stitching. I am participating in the Whip Go that Jessica Marie Does Stuff. That is her Instagram title. I also believe that's her Flosstube. Yes, that's also her Flosstube title. So Jessica Marie Does Stuff. She amazed me the other day because I was watching one of her videos and she said she has been on Flosstube for 10 years. I had no idea it had been going for that long. But I'm impressed that she's been able to continue with, because life sometimes gets in the way and you get distracted and go off on different tangents, but she has kept it up for 10 years. She was celebrating her 10th anniversary the other day, and I just applaud her for continuing with everything that she does and how well she does it. But she does the Whip Go, and this is my second year participating. So this month, the calls were number 1 and number 15. Now my board for Whip Go, this is my board. The purple ones means that I completed my goal. The orange ones means that I didn't complete it for that month. And the little pink box is the ones that have been called. The rest of these have not yet been called. So for this month, it was number 1 and number 15. And my number 1, what I do is I take the smaller of the numbers and I work on it for the first 15 days of the month. And then if I complete my goal, I can either set it aside and work on something different, or I can continue working on that project. Well, this month, I had to start late because I had a finish that I needed to get completed, which I will show you when we get to the fully finishes. So it wasn't until the 4th or 5th of this month that I was able to pick up my Whip Go. So I only completed my goal. I didn't get to go longer, which I would have if I'd have started on time. But this one is a baby Afghan that I am making for my second grandbaby. She will be 2 October 10th, so Grandma is right on top of things. She's late, but I think everybody is late. Well, let's not say everybody, but a lot of people are late with their samplers for babies because they just, I don't know, they just seem to take longer than what you anticipate them taking. This one I put on an Afghan, and it's kind of my own design. It's my own idea, but it's not my own design. I'm using Stony Creek. Here, let me get this out. I'm using the Stony Creek Baby Animal books. There is the Woodland Babies. There are the Sea Babies. There are the Protected Babies. And the Farm Babies. And how I decide which one I'm going to use is I'm doing it as an alphabet. And I find the letter, and then I go through the books and find the animal that obviously matches that letter. Well, some of the letters the baby Stony Creek, they don't have anything that matches that. So then I had to go on Etsy and buy different patterns for some of my squares. So I will show you each square that I have completed so far, and I will tell you if it was an Etsy or which one of the Stony Creek books it came out of. So A was alligator, obviously, and that was an Etsy purchase. The B is the woodland animals from Stony Creek. C is the sea babies. D is the woodland babies. E is the protected babies. And then this one, the one for Mom, that was a Stony Creek animal, the woodland. F is from the sea babies. The little frog in the corner with her name, that was part of the Stony Creek. G is the endangered babies. The one for my son that says Daddy, I did the Merc hat because he has always been fascinated by those animals. And I was able to find a baby meerkat on Etsy. I also have H, which is from the farm animals. I was a hard one. It was not a Stony Creek, and it wasn't a Etsy purchase. I had a book of bugs, so I decided to do insects. J is actually supposed to be a cheetah, but I darkened him up and turned him into a jaguar. Koala is an Etsy purchase. L is the lambs. This is from a baby book that I have. I couldn't find the lamb from the Stony Creek farm babies. I didn't like it. It wasn't very cute. It was very awkward to me. So I didn't like using that one. So I had to find a better lamb. And then the one that I just barely finished last night at 11:30 is Mouse, M. And she is from the woodland babies. So those are how I decide on the different animals that I use, is I go by the alphabet and choose the animal that matches the letter. The alphabet that I'm using is from this sampler, these letters here. This was a sampler that I did for my first grandbaby. It's also on an Afghan. I don't currently have it with me. If I can find it, I'll show you in another video, but right now I'm not sure where it's at. And it also was done on an Afghan with some modifications to make it work for how I wanted it to come out. But this is the font that I'm using. So that is my September 1 to September 15 whip go. And I have met my goal. So that one is complete. The second whip go that I have is a Heaven and Earth design. It's in this bag. I made this bag myself. The stitching is what is the name? Lily Violetta. I believe I got the pattern off 123 several years ago. I can't find it right now. Of course, with all the packing and everything, heaven knows where all of my patterns are. But I'm pretty sure that was a 123 purchase, because it was not a download, it was a physical purchase. And I made this for myself and turned it into a project bag. And what's in this is my Heaven and Earth design that I'm working on. It is called Christmas Cottage. And it is, shoot, where is it? No, it's not there. Where are my pictures? I know it's on here somewhere. I've got pictures. There we go. It will look, oops. Oh, go away. It will look like this when it is finished. And I did this as a remembrance for my dad. He passed away in 2005, and it was very hard. Lots of things went on, but I finally found a picture that made me think of him. And the reason that it does is because he always wore a cowboy hat his entire life. Anytime you saw him, he had a cowboy hat on. And the cowboy hat that the snowman is wearing just really made me think of my dad. So I'm going to stand up to show you this, because it is stitched on 16 count dove gray. It's a very light gray. Of course, all Heaven and Earth designs are fully coverage. So it didn't really matter what the fabric was, as long as it didn't show through. And of course it doesn't. But I need to stand up to show you this piece. I'm more than halfway done with it. I've been working on this for, I believe, 5 years. 6 years. 6 years. But 1 year, because of things that were going on, I never picked him up. But, yeah, he's more than halfway done. And you can't really see it. Maybe if I bring it real close. In the snow on the eaves of the house. No, it's not going to show. Anyway, in this tree and the snow on the eaves in the house, there is Quaker blending filament that makes it sparkle. And it's gorgeous. It really brings out the colors and the whole mood of the piece to have that Quaker in there. So that will be starting today. Once I get this video done, this will be the piece that I'll work on until the end of the month. And those are my only 2 whips that I have to show you. I currently have 10 whips. Like I said before, I like to keep it to a reasonable number for myself, because if I have too many going, it just makes me not want to stitch. So I keep it anywhere from 8 to 12 whips at any given time, depending on how big they are. Some of my pieces are very large. Some of them are rather small. You've seen what I've shown you. I have a good combination of both. I currently have two projects that are in timeout, and the reason that they are is because they are very large and I don't have anywhere to set them up to work on them. One is Woodland Santa, and it is a painted canvas, and I cannot think of the name of the designer. Hopefully I can find that information out and put it in the comments for you. It's a very large piece, and it's embroidery. It's not cross stitch. It's an embroidery piece. And the other one is a counted canvas, and it is by Tony Minera, and the name of the pattern is Stars for a New Millennial. And I saw it and I fell in love with it. But it's a very big piece, and I don't really have any place to set it up and work on it, so it has been a little bit neglected. So hopefully when we get to our new place and everything gets set up, I'll have a better way of putting things together and being able to work on those two. I want to finish them. They're not UFOs, and I do want to work on them. I just currently do not have any place to put them. Now, my fully finished pieces. This first one is the one I was telling you about, is the reason that my baby Afghan had to be pushed back and not worked on right at the beginning of September. A friend of mine, her mom, asked me if I would finish this. It's a stamped blanket, and the lady that asked me to finish this for her, she was losing her sight and she was losing her dexterity. She was diabetic and in her mid-80s, and she just couldn't work on it anymore. So I told her yes, I would take it and I would finish it for her. Well, I'm not a big fan of stamped pieces, and I kept finding an excuse not to work on it. I'd pull it out and I'd do a few stitches and then I'd put it away because I just didn't want to work on it. It wasn't fun for me. I'm very upset with myself because the end of March, this lady that asked me to do this for her passed away, and she did not get to see the finished project. So I'm kind of beating myself up for not working on it more diligently, but there's nothing I can do about it. All I could do for her was to finish it and give it to the granddaughter that she was making it for. So I have finished it, and again I'm going to stand up and show it to you. The bottom section, from the top of the little girl's head down, was all the work that she did. She did this whole section, across the bottom here, this whole area, this bear, and this other side. So all of that is her work, and I did not take any of it out. I left it all in. I made sure it was anchored properly so that it wouldn't come out, because like I said, her eyesight was going. But yeah, so that is all her work, and then I finished the rest of it for her. And then I put a backing material on it, and I bound it with a matching fabric. But this is a soft flannel. And personally, if there's going to be something that someone is going to be using on a regular basis, I always try to put some sort of backing on it so that the threads don't get caught and pulled and that kind of thing. So this is done, and I get to give it tomorrow. I will be giving it to the granddaughter that it was intended for. And like I said, I'm beating myself up a little bit because I didn't get it finished while she was still alive, but I just had to finish it for her. My other finish is something that I started in April. I finished it a couple months ago. It's Mr. and Mrs. Easter Gnome. This was also a purchase that I made on 123 Stitch. And they're just so cute. They're just so cute. I love these little gnomes. This is a peach. I believe it's 28 count. I don't think it's 30 count. I'm pretty sure it's a 28 count linen. But it's a mottled peach color if it's not coming through on the video. I hope it comes through. So those are all of my finishes that I currently have. I mean, I've got some others, but I can't get to them because they're packed. So hopefully in some of my later videos, I'll be able to get some of my other finishes out. So the other things that I do are items that I make to sell on my Etsy account. These are new. I have not got pictures up. I haven't posted them yet because my computer that I use for my Etsy account is currently being a pill and won't load for me. But these will soon be showing up on my Etsy account. And they're little key fobs, or you could use them on project bags. And currently the ones that I'm showing you are only in the gold color. It's got both a lobster clasp and a key ring. But I also have some silver ones that I'm going to be putting together and posting on my account. But I thought these would make fun little project bag fobs if you wanted to use those. Or they also could be used for keychains. The other thing that I have recently come up with is a scissor holder. They are, my husband and I kind of collaborate on this. He drills the hole for me and he does the clear coating once I've stained them so that they're finished and clear coated so that the stain doesn't rub off. So he does the hole for me and the clear coating, and then I do the decorating and adding the buttons and bobs. But these are a new item that I'm going to be putting on my Etsy account for scissor holders. And like I said, my computer is not cooperating with the download, so these also I do not believe are on my account, but they will be soon because we've got our computer guy coming this week to look at it and see what's going on. But these are just another item that I came up with. I've got all these ideas running around in my head, and so I come up with them and put them on my Etsy account to see if it's something that other people are interested in. So that's where those ideas came from. So that is my first floss tube. I hope you've enjoyed it. Be kind. I am not very technological. I'm doing this just for fun. If there's something that you would like to know, or if you have suggestions to make this better, let me know in the comments. And I'm thinking maybe about a month before I get back to be doing another one of these. But thank you for listening, and I hope I showed you some things that you can be interested in and be inspired by. Goodbye.